Best no experience required job. Story 1. I used to work for a small clothing store at a resort hotel in Waikiki. I worked many retail jobs in my time in Hawaii and had to deal with about as many rude customers as you would anywhere else. But something about this place put all the customers in a good mood. Maybe the fact we were on the beach, and I almost never had to deal with rude people. It was a fairly slow gig too, which gave my coworkers and I a lot of downtime for BSing, which we did plenty of. It was the only retail job I ever had where I never felt stressed out. On a lot of days, we would open the doors to let the tropical breeze in. The standard outfit was shorts, t-shirt, and flip-flops. Us guys who worked there loved to flirt with the girls in a little jewelry kiosk next to us, and we would get hit on regularly by bored teen girls and their drunk, middle-aged mothers looking for a tropical island fling. We used to actually fight for who got to take out the trash, because the dumpster was on the beach. We would always time trash takeout for sunset, and even the manager didn't get angry when it mysteriously took us 10 minutes to go to the dumpster and back. At the time, I was living in a studio apartment in Waikiki, just a couple blocks away, and it was a 10-minute walk to work for me. If that job had paid a living wage, I'd probably still be there, but I couldn't afford to live off my salary there, so I had to quit, move back to the mainland, and go to grad school so I could get a career job. I'm a college professor now, making a decent living in a respectable career, but sometimes I wish I was still selling t-shirts on the beach in Waikiki. Edit, I get one goal, mahalo. Story 2. Writer, no question about it. Zero experience, sit at home, make fucktons of money. Edit, since so many people are telling me why I'm wrong, feel free to PM me if you want to know the mechanics of it. Edit 2. Since so many people are PMing me, here are the mechanics of it. Amazon. That's where you have to go. What you need: computer, net access, fundamental writing skills. What you do: 1. Decide whether you want to make money or be a writer. I know that may sound obvious, but I work with people all the time who are more interested in creating art than in making money. If you want to create art, that's cool. Go for it and good luck. But if you want to make money, you need to work within the system. 2. Go to Amazon and see what's selling. There are hundreds of categories. Go through them and see what is selling well that you have interest in. In a perfect world, you shouldn't care, but realistically, it matters for your motivation. A book that's selling reasonably well will be in the top 10K. 3. Look for a wrinkle that's underrepresented in that category. So, for example, let's say you like books about kids having adventures. What kind of adventures are selling? What can you do to mix it up and make it fun? Can you change the protagonist to be a different race, live in a new area, or to something else? For follow common plot structure, there are a million books and blogs about this. Start with the car chase. And by that I mean you want to begin as far into the story as possible. Initial exposition is tedious. 5. Take your story and ask your friends and family to look at it. Post it to self-publish. Writing, ask for advice, etc. 6. Take their feedback. Can't stress this enough. If someone says your book sucks, ask them why. Ask for constructive feedback. 7. Go over it a few times. Make sure it's tight. 8. Title it provocatively. Make it clear what the book is about. 9. Get your cover and use familiar colors and themes. If you're writing a detective story, don't be vague and metaphorical. Make it instantly clear what you're selling. 10. Write your description the way other books they're selling have written theirs. Keep it tight, short, and to the point. Give them enough information to know what the book is about, but not so much that all is revealed. Write in a hook to get them to want to read it. 11. Set up your Amazon account, including author page, etc. Keep it light and fun. 12. Upload your book in both print and digital forms. There are plenty of books out there on how to do it. Choose 2 categories based on how books that are selling are listed. 13. Price your new story at $99 and put it in the Kindle Select program. Due on a Thursday. 14. Get your friends and family to buy and review the book at $1. And if they want help if you don't have friends or family, come to Reddit and ask for help. 15. Write a sequel and link the sequel in the back of the first book. Use an affiliate link. People love series, so you'll want to write as many books with the same character as possible to gain a following. 16. Build collections that have multiple stories in them. 17. Profit. That's the short version, but you get the idea. If you don't want to write a plot-based story, write a joke book or a picture book or any of a million alternatives. The thing is that the longer you wait, the longer you'll take to get traction. Hope this helps. Story 3. Token white person on Chinese or Japanese boards. There are some people who are professional white people, sit on a few boards of directors in China or Japan just to make leadership photographs look like they're an international bunch. No work required except looking distinguished. Edit from comments. Looks like Indian and Filipino companies do this too. LSD. Story 4. Retail. Everyone should have a retail job once in their life. For at least 6 months, you need no experience, but you'll learn a lot from it. First, you will probably learn what your ambition is. If you think folding clothes at the Gap and nothing else is not all that bad of a way to spend a year, college might not be your future path. If you're racing out of work to try and get in some classes, You will learn how to time manage like a pro. Secondly, you will learn social skills. The ability or perhaps art of looking someone in the eye and have a conversation is something you need to practice without the glow of a phone nearby. It is possible. Third, you will learn that all people, are disgusting. Why is this important? Because once you realize that other people are human, you think before acting and act a little nicer. Psychological fact. Fourth, most importantly, you will be a better shopper. If you've had to fold shirts for an hour or serve people food for hours or clean bathrooms, you will always remember that when you're on the other end, sure, some of you will feel vengeance and be, well, I cleaned this, so can they? But the vast majority will remember how much they hated when people acted up and avoid that same behavior. The old golden rule in effect. Story 5. Military. They have a ton of career fields. I was a radio television broadcaster for the U.S. Air Force like Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam. Yes, there's a lot of bullshit involved, and you surrender all control over your life for 4 years, including what country you live in, but it was absolutely worth it for me. Completely turned my life around. It's good pay for only needing a high school degree. And when you're done, you have experience you can use for your next career. The post-911 GI Bill will also pay 100 of your tuition if you go back to school and give you an actual paycheck to just be a full-time student. I'm not a recruiter, and there are plenty of reasons I didn't make the military my lifelong career, but everything I have today, including my 2 degrees without any school loans and my career making $78K per year, are all directly due to the fact that I joined the military. Story 6. Oil field. Started right out of high school, no experience, got my H2S and first aid now. I'm making over 100K a year at 18. Work crazy hours, but depending on what you do, it isn't as difficult as people say. Story 7. As much as it could potentially be a nightmare, babysitting as a kid was a really easy way to have money. As like a 12-year-old, I would go over to a neighbor's house at like 6, feed 2 kids dinner, play a board game, put them to sleep, and then watch TV by myself and get paid for it. No experience required so much that literal children are trusted with human lives. Story 8. Shop manager. I had that job all through undergrad. The owner only came in Friday morning at 11 to pick up the deposits. Other than that, my only work was ordering more tapes on Wednesday and restocking on Tuesday, plus 10 minutes of late tape election calls. I gave myself all of the day's shifts and hired staff to work nights. What that meant was that I could sleep until 9:30 every morning, be done work at 4, then get to my 4:30 or 7 p.m. class, and always have my weekends free. I would bring a lawn chair, do my readings, write essays, but mainly take naps behind the counter and barter free for free pizza, free vacuum repair, free plumbing, you name it, celebrity dog walker. Best no experience job and best job, period. Seriously, I have thought about this. You get to hang out with cool dogs all day, probably in Central Park. Then you get to meet awesome celebrities. And have you checked, they make awesome dough, plus you were a babe magnet. Who doesn't like a guy with a half dozen awesome dogs? Bags of poo aside, you will change from hound walker to hound, guaranteed. Oh, that's the life. Story 9. In Canada, you only need a high school diploma to become a civilian air traffic controller. It's tough to make the cut during post-training, but you'll be making good cash if you do. Story 10. If you can get a doorman gig in Manhattan, it's $50K a year plus a load of tips plus full benefits, holiday pay, sick time, personal time, and they offer classes to be an electrician and plumber, AMD, stuff like that. Good building will see you with $20K YR in tips. Story 11. No formal experience. ID say IT. Easily the highest paying job you can teach yourself with free online resources in a couple of months. I have a degree from RIT, and my buddy from home with no college experience makes more than me in an IT job in which he completely taught himself for free. Such a. Story 12. If you're interested in cooking, go apply a local restaurant and offer to wash dishes at the start. If you're a good dishwasher, they'll move you up the ranks if you're attentive and listen well. All that garbage about having to go to culinary school to be a cook chef is a complete farce. Story 13. I delivered pizza for 3 years and made more money now than I am working as a post-grad temp 13 HR. But I also don't spend 300-ish, depends on hours a month in gas. So it's a trade-off. Most Friday and Saturday nights, if you factor in tips ID, make a bit more than 20 hours. But it was generally for only 3 to 4 hour bursts. When I started opening on the weekend, it was nice, because ID get about 8 to 10 hours a day on my paychecks, then make at least 120 on both Saturday and Sunday. And if it's football season, ID sometimes make 500 from tips alone from Friday night shift, then opening Saturday and Sunday. It's really dependent on hours, though. I work 35 to 40 hours a week and work longer shifts, but TI worked because I was still in school, so working weird hours was easy. If you get into it but only work about 20 hours a week, you're generally working 3-hour rushes, and while the burst money is okay, You aren't building the money on your paycheck, and you aren't going on trips where you take 4 to 5 deliveries, which is super efficient time money-wise. Story 14, line standing. You get paid $35 an hour to stand in a long line for long periods of time. For some rich person, no experience required, just patience. I live in DC, so this is the gig I have. Story 15, cable guy. Spend your days helping people in their home who are always happy to see you. And in the evening, read article after article about how you and your company are trying to destroy the fabric of the universe. Story 16, stagehand. Most cities have labor companies that provide people for the entertainment industry specifically. Yes, the hours are long and the work can be heavy, but it generally pays well, and you get to be involved in some pretty nice events, concerts. I started out as a stagehand straight out of high school. Worked hard and moved up in the industry. I have worked in many countries on short and long projects. I now design and earn a good salary. It's still possible to make it without university. Story 17. This is pretty much only an option for girls. But nannying, I get paid 15 hours to go hang out at a wealthy family's house with their 7-year-old girl 20 hours a week. Yesterday, I was there for 8 hours, and we braided bracelets, colored, and played trivia crack. Story 18, warehouse work. I started out making more as a temp than ID, made in my 8 years of working, and now I'm hired, and make almost 3x more a week than I did at my last job this time last year. Story 19, my first job out of college was as a repo man for a major bank, entry-level position for my first 2 years there. Clearly, I had no experience stealing cars. The idea was that this was a career path for loan officers. A good loan officer will understand the ramifications of making a bad loan. My career spanned 12 years with the bank. Story 29, 1-1 operator. I applied for the position with our local police. I just had to go through a bunch of tests, typing test pointing out crucial details, scenario test, drug test, and other things. The first year you work the night shift and potential to work days after that. You make pretty good pay. Our city only had 2 slots open for hire, and like 20 people applied. I got down to the final 5 potential candidates and dropped out because and found out I was pregnant. Story 21, TEFL. If you're careful lucky, you can get away with a basic certificate in TEFL, and any degree at all. You get to travel, learn a culture, and perhaps a language, meet great people, build your confidence, and get away for a while. Edit some English teacher I am. Your Story 22, my friend works in fishing in Alaska half the year and loves it. Half the time on a boat, half the time doing packaging and in a warehouse. No experience required. They even pay for your plane ticket there and back Alaska and room, food, everything. She works like 3 to 4 months a year and travels the rest of it. The hours are rough, but it seems like they make it fun while they're there and save a ton of money. It may not be perfect. You basically follow the map for a couple of months, but to work like that, then have money to live your life for 23 of the year easily, it has definitely entered my mind a few times. Story 23, I started working at a bar as a bouncer about 4 months ago. It's pretty rad. The entire interview process was word for word. Do you have any problem with confrontation? No. You'll be working from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. Is that a problem for you? No. Do you have any problem with occasionally mopping up puke? No. Okay, you've got the job. I was actually floored because the bar I work at is corporately owned, and the application process online was very official. So I expected a much more thorough interview process. Story 24, the less experience, the better. That way you can feature in all those first-time videos that are so popular. Homer Simpson's job. He works September 5th, Monday through Friday. He makes enough money that his wife could be a stay-at-home mother. He has 3 kids, 2 cars, and a nice home in the suburbs, and he is dumb as. Story 25, in Australia. The highest paid, no skills required, is the traffic lollipop person. You need a day, a 1-day course for $109, and the pay is about $75 per HR. Yes, $75 per HR. Story 26, sweeping machine driver. Drive a forklifter-sized sweeper around during the night. Listen to whatever you want as loud as you want. Relatively good pay compared to other kinds of cleaning jobs. Story 27, car sales. As long as you're able to groom dress yourself into a professional appearance, are good at talking to people, can put up with a ton of bullshit, and have a strong desire to make a ton of money, you'll get a job. I've lost count of how many people I've seen going from 10-hour jobs to $60,000 in only a year in that business. But there's lots of sacrifice. It's brutal, soul-crushing work. You will lose much of your free time and your weekends, and the amount of time spent at work will strain your relationships and possibly your health. It's totally possible to do it while keeping the moral high road, but you will end up working with people who lie and cheat their way through life. But it's a great way to make money and a great way to gain experience. If you need to seriously increase your earning potential, get in, make some good money for 3 or so years, and get out. By that point, you'll have the experience to do plenty of other things if you want. Story 28, Redbox. Most people don't know this. Redbox is operated by real people. They sit inside the kiosk with a mini fridge and microwave. It has a built-in toilet too. Whenever somebody chooses a movie to rent, the operator person in the kiosk finds it and pushes it out. Story 29 Roustabout. Head to the oil fields in some miserable location. 20 hours about 70 hertz week back-breaking work. Live in a man camp for 6 months, go home for 2 weeks, then back to man camp for 6 months. When it's all said and done, though, you can work your way up the chain 5 years, and you'll be making 30 hours and running your own crew. 20 years, and it's 50 hours, but instead of living in a man camp, the company will buy you a house and pay for your family to visit you. No job is great when you first start out. Getting a job for the long haul bust you, but be smart and get a bit lucky and you'll retire a millionaire at 60. Story 30 U.S. military. Anyone can walk into a recruitment office right now and get a job. Anyone, they'll find something for you. And it's not all getting shot at. BTW. Story 31 stripping. If you can stay out of the drugs, prostitution, and drama, the money you can make as a reasonably attractive woman can be invested and turned into anything you want later in life. The exotic dancers I've known have made what amounts to 6 figures a year in non-tax regulated cash income for working 20 hours a week. Things like costumes, shoes, athletic equipment all fall under tax-deductible work items. The dedicated dancer could earn enough and invest money in a few years to retire extremely early, or at least take their time getting educated and entering a field they love. Story 32 Catastrophe Insurance Adjuster. Before I had a degree and moved typical 9-to-5 work, I was a CAT adjuster. Typically worked 5 to 6 months per year, 80-hour weeks when you're working, but you get tons of time off. Never made less than $435 per day. Story 33 Location Scout. All you do is send photographs of places to magazines. If they use them, you get paid. For home magazines, send houses that look like they should be in a home magazine. Focus group participant call up a facility and get on a list. They call you, and you go in for 2 hours and make $150 to $300, and they usually have food. Story 34. I know I'm late to the game, but I'm a part-time FIFA Level 7 soccer referee. I got a job as a community youth league soccer referee at age 12 making 14 game, and all I had to do was watch the game and know when to start it and stop it. I learned how much I love being a part of the game, so I took a training class to learn all the crazy reffing rules and got certified as a real, live FIFA soccer referee at age 15. I started refereeing middle and high school level competitive soccer games for an average of 65 game. I absolutely still do it. It's the best thing in the world to be able to spend an hour and a half watching your favorite sport and earning a ton of money for it. I love it. It's one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. The money isn't even close to the driving factor of why I do it, although the whole paying for college thing does help. If there's something you love doing, figure out how to apply it to something you can offer to others. I could have just spent all my time watching sports on the couch, but I turned my love of soccer watching into an offerable skill and created opportunities to discover a job that not only makes better money than many postgraduate starter careers, but is satisfying, fulfilling, and also lets me do what I love. Edit grammar. Story 35 Blackjack dealer or any other casino dealer. For some, the ethics of taking a poor person's money is questionable, but you make decent tips if people are winning, and it can be a lot of fun. Story 36 I work for a wireless internet company climbing cell phone towers for about 20 hours plus changing light bulbs on the weekend for 65 hours on the same towers. If you don't mind traveling, working for a legit tower company that does sell stuff can get you 30 hours. All that's really required is not being bothered by heights. Story 37 If you're mechanically inclined, start somewhere as a machine operator. The job might be tedious at first, but there's good money in manufacturing as long as you like learning new things, remembering old things, and don't mind getting dirty occasionally. Source: Shop Supervisor Maintenance, did setup tear down extraordinaire in the plastics industry. Story 38 Umpire. I mean, it's an okay seasonal job. The pay isn't too bad, but very limited, super easy to join too. Just find your local group and show up. It's really seasonal, but it's good for a little extra cash. Story 39 Pizza Delivery Driver. I'm focusing on job, not career. I worked for quite a few pizzerias back in the day. I made okay money for my age, always had fun, and learned my way around very efficiently. Story 40 Prison Guard Correctional Officer. In most states, they'll hire you if you have a pulse and a clean criminal record. The pay is astounding given the lack of required qualifications. You can expect to make between $40K to $80K annually, and it's not as terrible a job as you'd think. Story 41 Selling Cars. I told my interviewer that I knew absolutely zero about cars. I was hired, and 3 years later, I hope to reach my very achievable goal of 100,000 years. Also, forget to mention that I do not have a college degree. Half the people in the business don't have a degree. Grocery store. One of the few jobs left where you don't need a college education and can make a living wage and get health care, provided you work a union store, i.e. not Walmart. Story 42, I started selling cars in March. I made $75K by December. It honestly is all skill-based with zero education required. The hours, the risk is high, and people burn out all the time, but you'll never be unemployed because of that job. I also enjoyed the out of it while I did it. Story 43, being a bank teller. You can start in high school. Sets up communication, problem solving, personal finance, and critical thinking skills. It's much more rewarding than a big box retail job. Story 44, working for an Apple store. Seriously, don't need to know anything about Apple products, but does help. Everything is thought to you. You get health care for 1K match, tuition reimbursement, and all as a part-timer. Story 45, airline counter agent. No experience, not the greatest pay, but the majority of airlines will give you pretty wicked flight benefits. And more often than not, interline deals with other airlines. 150 return for Vancouver to Bali was probably the best deal I took advantage of. I wasn't a counter agent where I worked, but they got the same deals as I did. Story 46, not the best by any stretch, but UPS morning preload is the foot in the door to a good, reliable career gig with full Teamster benefits. Morning preload, where I worked for a while, was a permanent part-time position. Max 5 hours per day, overtime after 5 hours, paid holidays, paid vacations, and benefits that are second to none. Worked next to a 36-year-old guy who had started when he was 18 and who never tired of telling me that he was 7 years away from retiring with a pension. At age 43, from a part-time job, you can also get into route driving from there, of course. Story 47, go to love season work. Which my friend owns, and go to Greece for entire summer. Work as a beach boy or a bartender and party all day and all night. No money for anything else because you barely get paid, but you get alcohol and go home to your country in the winter, take a shitty job, and figure out what you want to do with your life. When your decision backfires that you don't have any interesting goals in aim sight, you go back to Greece the next spring and stay till fall. Story 48, teaching English in China. I had no experience with teaching, no college degree, no TFL certificate. Decided I wanted to do it right after Christmas last year. By March, I was living in Beijing. Almost all of these jobs will provide you with an apartment as part of your pay. I'm making just over $1,000 a month, so the pay isn't great, but I don't have to pay rent, and food can be really cheap here. So I'm able to save more than half of my paycheck. It's also really easy to find a tutoring gig on the side to supplement your income. Right now, I'm saving up so I can start doing scuba training later this year. Check out jobs at SLCave.com. Story 49, if you can bullshit on the fly. Car salesman, I couldn't. That being said, you're not supposed to BS. I'm just not good with people other than being polite and explaining things. Story 50, I'm a mailroom assistant now. I get paid 13 hours to put mail in the correct slots. I do have 3 buildings to cover, but the job is a lot of chill time. The only thing is I better make sure I put everything in the right place and in time. Story 51, tech support and ISP. I make $40K a year. You just need to be able to beat out the hundreds that apply. It's a no-experience job, and you can move into technical positions over your decades-long career. The only problem is the competition for all the jobs. It's tough. Story 52, customer service jobs at grocers and supermarkets. Started off as a courtesy clerk bagger for Kroger, and a little over a year and a half later, am now in management position, making really decent money for a 19-year-old. Not a bad idea for a college job. Doesn't require any sort of special trick either. In my case, just came in, did my job, and left each day. Never answered the phone when they tried to call me in, and just made friends with as many managers as possible. Story 53, walking around selling beer at NFL games. Great exercise, and you get to watch the fourth quarter for free. As long as you're 21, can walk, and can count, you qualify. Story 54, it doesn't require experience, but it does require a 2-week course if you're under 25 or in school. Being a lifeguard is a fantastic job. There isn't a better job for young people. When I went to college, because I was on financial aid, the school allows you to work for them, and because I had a lifeguard certificate, I made 10 hours instead of the normal 7, 25 hours that normal school jobs made. I was a lifeguard for a Division III hardcore swim team, and used to be a football player. Even though almost every swimmer had a certificate as well, the NCAA required a separate lifeguard. It was awesome. Story 55, work at a toy shop. Doesn't have the best pay, but you'll see so many awkward people you can laugh about off work and tell stories about. And whenever a hot chick comes by and buys a toy, it surely gets the fantasies going nicely. Just imagine a lady in her 70s trying to spark life with her husband of 50 years and comes by being too shy to actually say what she wants and keeps trying to describe it by using other words. And you've got an amazing guessing game where you'd obviously be immune to the awkwardness because you work there and deal with this all the time. Story 56, any union trade. Unions get a rough collar for being corrupt and expensive, but the jobs are skilled positions. Some unions are better than otherwise, particularly the Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, plumbers and pipe fitters, laborers and teamsters, the latter of which I belong to. It's a hard life sometimes in peak season and in the slow times, but if you have a sense for business, a lot of union guys and girls go into business for themselves, overtime S&D rake in upper six figures, supervising or doing minimal manual labor. In a time when half the workforce is set to retire in the next 5 years, the opportunities are endless. Story 57. Honestly, anywhere you'll be forced to deal with the general public, even better if you need to sell them something, worrying about wages. If it's a no experience required job, this isn't the rest of your life. This is temporary. It's a skill set builder. And learning how to A, understand the masses, B, be liked by the masses, C, deal with the masses, and D, better your own life by providing some service to the masses is money. Blackjack dealer. Where I worked, they hired college students to work company parties, private parties, etc. Granted, the downside is that it is largely seasonal, but just hanging out and having fun with guests is the best part. Clearing 40 to 170 in tips a night being a clear second. Story 58. Call centers. Hands down, it's easy to get hired. It's easy and non-strenuous work. And they usually pay more than minimum wage, some even pay more than minimum wage and commission. Even better if you get graveyard shift for that $1 shift differential. Even more better if you can get promoted, which is usually easier to do in a call center than in a fast food joint. I've worked in nearly every line of typical entry-level work that doesn't require a driver's license. And, so far, call center takes the cake. Story 59. If you're young, working at a resort hotel that houses you. I did nights, my buddies, and I would be on from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. In reality, we basically finished our work by 12:30 or 1 and played Xbox for the rest of the night. In the morning, have pancakes, then catch a shuttle to the mountain for some boarding. Repeat for 2 winters until it's time to earn real money. Awesome lifestyle. Lots of partying, girls, and snow. Living in staff housing was an interesting experience. Story 60. I'm an electrician's assistant. Started out at 11. 0 hours with zero knowledge of any kind of electrical work. I follow an electrician around job sites, carry his tools, get out of the truck, occasionally lay cable, and watch him do his thing. I get to learn a lot about general electrical work and could eventually can get certified if I care to, plus I get good benefits. Story 61. Not sure if this has been said, but entry-level sales jobs can be great. They usually provide some type of sales training, which you can put on your resume. Some of them can pay incredibly well. Also, I think it's a front-line position, giving you experience with how the product actually moves, giving you insight for other uses. You also gain customer service experience, improve speaking skills, and much more. Story 62. Electrician. If a company is needing people, they'll hire you on as apprentice. I was making just shy of $800 every Friday at the apprentice level. You don't even need to graduate from high school to work in the electrical field. You just need a high tolerance for pain and be willing to crawl under trailer homes, those places, lifeguarding. Take a 3-day, easy course. Then quickly work your way up to assistant manager or manager by the end of the summer. The next summer, work as a supervisor overseeing a 1 or 2 community pools. If you do well, the pool management company might hire you to work all year in marketing, sales, HR, logistics, winterizations of pools, maintenance, etc. They'll teach you everything. Once you become a regional manager, you've got a great gig and potential long-term career aside from the summers being a little hectic, but the slowdown the rest of the year make up for it. Story 63. Collection agent. They usually don't require any experience, and the turnover is so high. It's tough, but if you hustle and get a little lucky, you can make some good commissions. Story 64. I mean, it's a tough gig and hard to get into these days, but an assistant brewer doesn't really require any previous experience. I can train you from the ground up. It's hard work. It's very hard work for a couple years for very little money. The payoff, though, is nice. Brewer positions are still tough, but more money and a little more cushy. You have assistants after all. And head brewer positions are even better. You'll never get rich, but you'll have a fun life full of conferences, beer events, beer dinners, etc., all paid for by the company. Plus, I think our guys make about $32K a year. Not bad. It's a long, tough, and fun career, but if you stick with it, it can be very rewarding. At least I find it rewarding. Who doesn't want to make beer? Story 65. Social media director. It's exactly what you think it is. Basically, some company wants to be popular on social media, so they need someone who's good with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Bigger companies may require experience, but there are plenty of small companies, travel agencies, museums, even retailers that need someone to not only post for them, but get more people to subscribe or like them. You get paid to be on Facebook all day. Not bad if you ask me. Story 66. If you want to jump into something that can shape you into an experienced worker reasonably fast, Many tradesmen take helpers with little to no experience and teach them. Obviously, you don't start out making much more than you would at McDonald's, but as you learn, you become one more useful and worth more. This is how I got into residential construction work. At first, I was a measly trained monkey, but I have since grown into the mighty peon. Story 67, I was an assistant to a mason for a while. Great workouts every day, learn a ton of stuff, 8 hours, decent pay, 5 days a week, potential overtime. That job is still the best I've ever had. Story 68, site tester. Yes, it's a thing, and I do it. It pays pretty well too. No, I don't sit there and watch all day. I check code and make sure the developers are doing their jobs. Mostly, we have guys in my workplace who make $80K to drive a company van, early mornings for 6 hours a day, delivering newspapers. Easy, pretty clean, no lifting over 15 kilograms. Yet when we have a position vacant, it usually takes a couple of months to fill, because no one wants to wake up 2:30 a.m. 5 days a week. Story 69, jobs in the vending industry aren't fun, but typically pay very well. Companies such as bakeries and Frito-Lay can be great careers. I manage a depot for one of these types of companies, and most of my guys gross between 40 and 60K per year and have really good union benefits. No experience is required. If you can drive a truck and be nice to people, you're set. Apply at Jiffy Lube Haviline type places. No experience, no certifications, plenty of slow time. People tip you all the time. It's the life, man.